they're suing me for something I didn't do. Like, on God. It's just the most bullshit thing. And I literally had to pay them a lot of money.
Jake Paul just got knocked down by Mike Tyson. And let's be honest, this might be the end of the road for him. Up until now, fans tolerated the trash talk, the non-stop attention-seeking, the circus act that followed him everywhere. But the moment he crossed the line and embarrassed a legend like Tyson, he may have signed his own career's death warrant. Sure, he's been out there chasing fame like it's on clearance, but this time he may have gone too far.
Like a little teary-eyed. But, yeah, and then I wake up the next day and, like, have a phone call, like, with my lawyers for one of the lawsuits.
There's no coming back from this one, folks. If Jake had just stuck to fighting guys his own age, like Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, maybe we wouldn't be watching his career nosedive in real time. But no, he chose to jump in with the big fish, Tyson, Canelo Alvarez, and now he's facing the consequences. Because when you swim with sharks, don't be surprised when you get bitten. Jake Paul, the YouTube star turned controversial boxer, thought he was untouchable, doing whatever he wanted, whenever he pleased. But reality came crashing in, swift and unforgiving. While Jake was partying in his private penthouse, soaking up the sun and enjoying his illusion of invincibility, he had no idea what was coming. The long arm of the law was already reaching out, ready to pull him out of his luxury bubble and straight into a harsh new reality.
Oh, told you, pussy. Must be your first time out here.
The police didn't wait for Jake Paul to casually stroll back onto the sand. They came straight for him, cutting through the calm like sharks homing in on their prey. There's no escaping when American law enforcement is involved. It's almost laughable to think Jake believed he could outrun them. In a country where even the dead can't dodge the law, what chance did he really have? As the authorities closed in, the party atmosphere vanished. The music, the laughter, the carefree vibes, gone in an instant. What remained was the cold, sobering reality. Jake Paul was facing something far more serious than he ever expected. This wasn't just an arrest. It was a public spectacle, a dramatic unraveling of his larger-than-life persona. The moment the cuffs went on, it wasn't just the end of a party. It was the beginning of the end. For years, Jake Paul has been the guy who always seemed to get away with everything. His antics, his controversies, they only fueled his rise. But this time was different. This time, Jake wasn't calling the shots. He wasn't controlling the we narrative. He was the one being chased, the one being taken down. The image of him being pulled from the water, surrounded by police, is a far cry from the invincible, untouchable figure he worked so hard to project. It was the moment the mask slipped, revealing a man who could no longer outrun the consequences. So what did Jake Paul do to spark this firestorm? Let's cut to the chase. He breached a contract. And not just any contract, this was the contract. The golden ticket that secured his massively hyped fight with none other than Mike Tyson.
Sign the contract, big boy. Sign the contract.
No problem. Saturday, July 20th. See you there, bud.
Yes, that Mike Tyson. The man whose very name sends shivers down the spines of even the toughest fighters. But instead of honoring his commitment, Jake Paul found himself tangled in a web of rumors, whispers that he might back out of the fight altogether. Why? Apparently, Tyson's demands were a bit too much for our YouTube star-turned-boxer to handle. Now let's talk about those demands because Tyson doesn't sugarcoat anything. This is the guy who once bit off a piece of someone's ear in the ring. He doesn't mess around. Tyson made it crystal clear. The fight would happen on his terms. No exceptions. And those terms? KO only rules. That's right. The only way the match could end was with someone knocked out cold. No technical decisions, no referee saves, no early stoppages. Just raw, unfiltered boxing mayhem. But Tyson didn't stop there. He also demanded random drug testing. He wasn't leaving anything to chance. This fight had to be clean, no excuses, no shady business. And it's worth noting why that mattered. UFC President Dana White had publicly accused Jake Paul of using steroids, an allegation that sent shockwaves through the combat sports world. White isn't known for tossing out baseless claims. He understands the fight game inside and out, And when he speaks, people listen. Tyson did too.
I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you.
Tyson was making one thing clear to the world. He took the steroid accusations seriously, and he wasn't about to let Jake Paul slip through the cracks. The introduction of random drug testing wasn't just a technicality, it was a statement. Tyson was setting the tone. This fight would be real, raw, and above all, clean. For Jake, that changed everything. This wasn't just about trading punches with a legend. It was about proving he was legit, that his past victories weren't fueled by anything but grit, skill, and raw talent. The pressure was on, and it was unlike anything he'd faced before. This was no ordinary bout for Jake Paul. This was the defining moment, the chance to show the world that all the swagger, all the trash talk, all the bravado was more than just showmanship. But under Tyson's terms, that confidence began to wobble. The spotlight was no longer something Jake could control. It was now a heat lamp, and he was starting to crack. Then the whispers began. Was Jake going to back out? The guy who built his brand on being fearless suddenly seemed rattled by a KO-only clause. The internet lit up. Could it be? Jake Paul, the self-proclaimed disruptor of boxing, scared of a little old knockout rule? Say it ain't so.
They clowned me. They laughed at me my whole career. I've always been the underdog. Always. No one's ever believed in me, had my back. No one's ever, said I was going to be the one. I was always, mid-level, mediocre, this, that, and the other thing. And boxing finally gave me the lane and the avenue where I was undeniable. Based off of how good and how hard I worked is how far I could get. And I think that's an inspiring story to anyone out there. But what can they say now? First of all, the biggest fight of the 21st century, up there with Mayweather-McGregor on Netflix.
As the rumors gained momentum, it became clear this wasn't just about legal fine print or a routine breach of contract. No, this was about something much bigger. Jake Paul's fear of facing Mike Tyson on a level playing field. For years, Jake had crafted a persona of invincibility, the guy who could step into the ring with anyone and walk out unfazed, head held high. But now, that carefully built image was cracking. The very idea that Jake might be too afraid to face Tyson under fair, no-nonsense conditions sent shockwaves through both fans and critics. Suddenly, people began questioning everything they thought they knew about him. And the damage to Jake's reputation? It hit harder than any punch. Up until now, he'd danced through every controversy with swagger, savvy PR, and just enough charm to keep his following intact. But this was supposed to be his defining moment. The night he stepped into the ring with a living legend and proved he was more than a YouTube personality with boxing gloves. Instead, it's looking more like the moment his whole image begins to unravel. In a last-ditch effort to regain control of the narrative, Jake Paul is now trying to pivot, dropping the tough guy persona and reaching for the victim card. He's out there claiming the lawsuits piling up against him are baseless. They're suing me for something I didn't even do, he says. Like, on God, it's just the most insane thing. And I literally had to pay them a ton of money for no reason. It's a dramatic shift in tone, from chest-thumping bravado to wounded innocence. But for many, the sudden change feels more like damage control than honesty.
They're suing me for something I didn't do. Like, on God, it's just the most bullshit thing. And I literally had to pay them a lot of money.
This is a far cry from the Jake Paul who once flaunted his wealth and success every chance he got. But let's face it, his financial troubles are no laughing matter. That breach of contract he's caught up in, it comes with a penalty so massive, it's reportedly left even Jake reeling. And we're not talking a slap on the wrist. Word is, the fine is so astronomical that even with his millions, he's struggling to process it. There's even chatter that Jake may have to tap into his family's fortune just to cover the bill. For someone who built his brand around being self-made and moneyed up, that's gotta sting. But this financial blow isn't just about dollars, it's about pride. Jake Paul, the guy who always acted like money was no object, is now staring down the possibility of losing it all. The irony is thick. The same fortune he used as a symbol of power might not be enough to save him. And here's where it gets even trickier. Jake's attempt to spin this into a sympathy story is a gamble. In the fight world, vulnerability isn't currency. Invincibility is. Fans who once rooted for him might now see him as just another overhyped celebrity who crumbled when it got real. And his critics? They're already dancing on the metaphorical grave, saying this proves what they believed all along. Jake Paul wasn't the real deal, just a loudmouth who finally got in over his head.